We have breaking news. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is ordering powerful new strikes on Gaza. This comes just 2 weeks after Hamas released the remaining living hostages as part of a ceasefire agreement. But tensions over the delayed return of dead hostages remains have escalated ever since. ABC's Patrick Reevell and ABC News national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy are here with more on this. Patrick, what's the latest?
Hi, Dan. Yeah, as you say, just in the last few minutes, Israel's Prime Minister's office says that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ordered immediate and powerful strikes on the Gaza Strip. It follows a meeting that he had called to discuss growing frustration from Israel over what it believes are repeated violations of the ceasefire. And the context, as you say, is this frustration and controversy around the return of the remains of deceased hostages. Overnight, Israel has accused Hamas of trying to basically pretend to return the bodies of one of the hostages. They say that tests show that the remains of what was supposed to be a 13th deceased hostage instead belonged to the body of a hostage who was already returned. Israel saying that Hamas is basically violating the ceasefire by failing to swiftly return the bodies that it is holding. We've also heard reports from Israeli media today that Israeli troops have come under some small arms fire from inside the Gaza Strip. So clearly this gives concern that we might be seeing the ceasefire starting to show severe strain. But we should note that this is not the first time that Israel has ordered and then carried out intense strikes amid claims of violations of the ceasefire. Just last week, it launched 120 strikes on Gaza, again in response to what it saw as Hamas's failure to hand over bodies of deceased hostages. The U.S. clearly previously has been trying to hold this ceasefire together, has been urging Israel not to strike and pull it apart. I think we'll probably see the Trump administration now try to encourage Israel to keep this limited. But clearly this is going to need more mediation. And it shows again how this ceasefire remains fragile and is under strain, Diane.
And Mick, is this the end of the ceasefire?
So, Diane, I certainly hope not, and I think everybody else does as well. The issue, in addition to, as Patrick described, the return of the deceased hostages, is also this unwillingness of Hamas to disarm. In fact, the Israelis believe they're trying to reconsolidate their power for the future. And as King Abdullah of Jordan said this weekend, it's very unlikely a stabilization force is going to go in there and be willing to actually fight Hamas to disarm. So if they don't disarm, then this is essentially a roadblock for the continuation into phase 2 of this 20-point U.S. proposed plan. So this is very precarious right now. Hopefully, the U.S. can convince Israel to keep it limited, and they're still going to have to deal with the issue of disarming Hamas.
So, Mick, what are you watching for next?
So the next phase, I think, will really be a lot of pressure by Qatar, by Egypt, by Turkey on Hamas to disarm with a plan. They obviously are concerned about their own well-being in Gaza. They've made many other armed groups angry with them for obvious reasons. There has to be some plan to keep them secure, not because we care about the future of Hamas, obviously, but Hamas does. And we need them to disarm. So there has to be some plan to do that, to be able to get this international stabilization force set up and to deploy as peacekeepers, not as peace enforcers, into Gaza. That is the biggest hurdle to going ahead, but it needs to happen because there's a lot of very positive things that would come in this plan for both Israel and the people of Gaza if it can figure this one part of the second phase out, and that is really how to get Hamas to disarm.